The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
Welcome to Truman's Town Hall with your host, Matt Truman.
Hello, this is Matt Truman. Thank you for downloading this episode. Thank you for sharing with a friend. Wow, it's been a while since I've done an audio podcast. I'll slip these in more often nowadays, I think. I like this format, and I don't know why I don't do it more often. But if you're still sticking around to Truman's Town Hall, we're back. We're going to be back throwing out these audio podcasts on Friday. It's a long-form podcast. We may do interviews here sometime, I don't know, or if I do an interview, it'll be on the YouTubes or in the Rumble. So follow us over there on YouTube and Rumble. On YouTube, it's Matt in parentheses Doc, and then Truman at Doc Truman on YouTube. And over on Rumble, we are Truman's Town Hall, no apostrophe. Definitely follow us over on Rumble. That's where I'd like you to check out our videos. On Sunday, we do a podcast talking about Jesus and God and discussing different doctrines. You can check that out on Sunday. And leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find it, because that would definitely help us out. Anyway, let's get straight into the news here, folks. The Supreme Court is actually hearing a case for free speech. This is the case that's going to, if you've ever heard about Section 230, it gives Google, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, everybody, immunity from what you and I post on their platform. Yet, they still want to control the message. Very much so on Facebook. Oh, Facebook is bad for this. It's hard to even get on Facebook other than to see what family's doing, because you can't post something that, let's be honest, the left disagrees with. If you post that, then it's going to be fact-checked to no end. Is it really a fact check? I don't know. So Section 230, the Supreme Court's going to hear this case. It's Gonzalez versus Google. And we're going to know, do these companies have the right to restrict our free speech on the internet? Back in the 90s, in the early 2000s, the internet was wide open, man. I mean, it still kind of is if you want to look different things up. But if you want to post something on Facebook or you want to put a video out on YouTube, it's not really that free. Now, Twitter's becoming more free, don't you agree? I think it's more free. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. Rumble, same way. They're not cowing to the pressure from Great Britain or France or Germany saying you can't do this, or okay, shut us down in your country then if you don't want that. Rumble's doing an amazing job at that. That's why I say follow us over on Rumble, because we can put more things out over on Rumble than we can anywhere else. So this is going to be interesting to follow up. Just keep your eye on that. The Gonzalez versus Google case that is going to look and dive more into Section 230 of the United States Communications Act of, I believe, 96. Anybody see Elon Musk at the border? Yeah, he was at the border, and the news reports are already out. Why is Elon at the border? He runs Tesla. And, well, he's trying to promote citizen journalism on Twitter. That's awesome. We all should be out there as citizen journalists, reporting and sharing information freely. It should be that way. It's kind of interesting how so many people, and this is on the left and right, want to control the message. No, folks, that's not what it's all about. And it bothers me to no end when there's people trying to restrict the free speech of Americans on both sides, right? We need to be able to freely discuss ideas. Now, sometimes it gets heated or, on the internet, I don't know this person, but I disagree with them, so I'm going to call them names. That's stupid. If you're out there doing that, I honestly, I think it's dumb. Just, here's what I think, and if you don't like it, oh well, move on. No, you're getting canceled, Matt. You're getting canceled. No, Matt, you can't say that. We need to structure it this way. This is what I want. Oh, okay, great. If that's what you want, enjoy it. But here's my thoughts on it. It should be we should have the freedom to discuss our ideas freely here in this country. It should be free to do so. I mean, think about everything that they're restricting us being able to say. I mean, there was a quote unquote pandemic that we couldn't speak out about. No, you can't say that because that's misinformation. That's disinformation. Is it really? Well, it's turning out some of what we've said has come true. There's, I would say, major escalation over in Ukraine and between the war with Russia and Ukraine. Ukrainians last Friday hit the Black Fleet's headquarters, and they apparently reported that they killed General Sokolov, who was the commander of the Black Fleet. Yet there was a video put out by Russia stating that, no, he's in fact alive. You didn't kill him. But it is a major escalation when you're attacking these bases, utilizing Western weapons. I believe they used Storm Shadow missiles to blow this building up. And they injured and killed some people. And it was all over the news, right? What else is happening in Ukraine? Oh, did you hear when Volodymyr Zelensky was in Canada that the Parliament, the Canadian Parliament, I'm sure you heard about this, stood and gave a standing ovation to a former Nazi soldier. We've talked about on this podcast often about the right sector, the Azov Battalion, being able to line their lineage up with former Nazis. Yes, Nazis were in Ukraine, folks. And a lot of them, when World War II was over, a lot of them went to South America. Some went to Nuremberg. Some went and stayed in Ukraine and all over the Eastern Bloc there. And it's just amazing to me how people want to, nope, that's not happening. We still need to fund. No, we're literally funding Nazis. Modern day Nazis. There was that protest that happened in Florida where Laura Loomer came up and got these guys on camera shouting how much they love Biden. Did you hear that?
So what does that mean? Does that mean violence? No, it doesn't mean violence.
What we're doing now, this is it.
All of our goals can be achieved non-violently. The most violence is on y'all's side. Subjugation of our race. That's what we stand against. The reason that you presuppose that there will be violence is because you are ready to use violence to stop us.
When you say you
And all of the people on that side of the fence, white subjugators, you work for that team. Kites, jewelry, capitalism, billionaires. That's your side. I know it's your side because you still have a job.
Christopher, there's a presidential race going on right now. Are you going to vote in 2024? What do you think is going to happen with
My
all
vote is useless. I think Biden's better than Trump because he sends rockets to Ukraine.
In support of Ukraine, you mean?
Hell Ukraine, hell Azov. Slava 2 minutes, Christopher.
Well, there's that crazy. Good night, people. Hello. Wake up. The conservative guys like myself, we're not them. Those guys are straight up from the old school Democrat Party, right? The one that created the Ku Klux Klan, all those. Now, they would consider me a, what do you say? You're a white subjugator, man. What the heck does that even mean? None of us had a say in how we were born. We were just happened to be born white or black or brown. It just happened. Holding a pride in skin tone that you had no choice over, I will never understand. I will never understand it. I'd like to think that I would be an abolitionist back in the day. I would like to think that. I don't get this whole race division thing. Never have, and I don't think I ever will. I've been called racist, not understanding how anyone could come to that conclusion, but it's it's been thrown around. So yeah, so we had that. That was a few weeks ago that Laura Loomer broke that case. And it was quite shocking to hear him say that I don't like Trump. I like Biden because he sends weapons to Ukraine. Oh, isn't that sweet? It happened, just like the standing ovation in Canada's parliament.
Zelensky's speech received at least a dozen standing ovations. There was also one for this man, a 98-year-old Ukrainian Canadian who fought for Ukrainian independence against the Russians during the Second World War.
Okay, so, I mean, how stupid. You're either so dumb or you know exactly what you're doing when you're talking about a person who fought against the Russians in World War II. My God, standing ovation. Let's rise for this gentleman who fought against the Russians in World War II. And then he kind of does a little Roman salute there for a minute. I mean, that was kind of interesting. And they just clapped along like, yay. And then Trudeau comes out and apologizes. Oh, wow. That guy is a super duper joke. Anyway, Trudeau apologized, and the Speaker of Parliament has stepped down. Yeah, I couldn't believe it myself. Former Lieutenant Colonel Douglas McGregor just posted this over on Twitter. The Ukraine phase of the war is over. They are losing soldiers at a rate that is about the same as the Allies lost troops in World War I on the Western Front. Every day we fought a battle on the Western Front. In 1918, we lost 1,000 men on average. Make peace, you fools. Yeah, we need to make peace. But you have Secretary General of NATO, Stoltenberg, stoking fires each and every day. All this could have been avoided, and we've talked about that on previous podcasts. But here we are, marching toward World War III. As China continues to confront Taiwan with their sorties they're running and their Navy ships they got out there in the Sea of China, and just doing, I mean, North Korea visiting Russia on a bulletproof train. Rocket Man. Remember, Trump called him Rocket Man. He rode on a bulletproof train to go visit Vladimir Putin, right? Iran, Azerbaijan, and Armenia fighting each other, right? I put a post on YouTube about that a long time ago when it first started kicking off, and somebody wrote, Azerbaijan doesn't attack anyone. Well, okay. I don't know. I'm just reporting what's happening, you know? I don't have a dog in that fight. I want peace for everyone, honestly. I want peace on earth. Boy, wouldn't that be nice? We don't live long, folks. We got maybe 70 years to make a dent, and then it's all over. Some of us live to 80 or 90. Great. Although I did talk to an old fella the other day. He's like, you don't want this. You just don't want this. And he meant it. He's like, getting old is awful. You don't want it. All right. Yes, sir. But we only have like 70 years, right? Roughly 70 years, if we're lucky. My dad died at 61. So do your best. Try to love your neighbor, and let's call for peace. We're fighting over resources, folks. Still, that's been the fight since the rock was thrown at Abel, right? Resources. I don't know. Pray for peace. Let's see what's happening around America here. UAW unleashes wave of reinforcements as strike intensifies at Ford and GM. Tesla sued for pervasive racial harassment of black workers. There's actually a big story, the government shutdown. That's huge because I don't think it's going to get resolved. And I know from certain sources that there are government entities that are preparing for this shutdown. And they're only preparing because it's going to happen. They're going to shut down the United States government. There's going to be millions of government employees not getting paychecks. They'll eventually get paid, but they won't for a while. Biden is also under impeachment inquiries. So you got a government shutdown. The border's wide open. The economy. You've been to the grocery store? It's expensive to buy food nowadays. You really can't even buy a car with the interest rates the way they are, because if you bought a car now, you're going to pay high interest. Did we have it better under Trump than we did with Biden? I'd say we did. And you guys know me. If you've listened to this podcast before, I'm not a MAGA guy, right? I don't have the hats, but I can discern the difference between Trump's presidency and Biden's presidency. Things are getting worse, folks. We have wars and rumors of wars, government shutdowns, Supreme Court cases. And if you live in Ohio, we have something very important on the ballot, Issue 1. I'm going to read and go through right now the ballot language. Issue 1 is all about abortion. That's what it's about. Be it resolved by the people of the state of Ohio that Article 1 of the Ohio Constitution is amended to add the following section. This is a constitutional amendment. This will amend our Constitution. We've amended our Constitution over 170 times versus the 27 times we have in the United States. Enough is enough. I tried to get folks on my side to say, hey, we've got to up the percentage that it takes to amend our Constitution. Folks were like, no. Even conservatives, no, I'm not going to do that. It should be easily admitted. No, it shouldn't. But nobody listened to me on that and went through and made way for this new amendment that will be voted on November 7th. 2023. Article 1, Section 22, the right to reproductive freedom with protections for health and safety. Reproductive freedom. That's code for killing babies, in my opinion. A, every individual has a right to make and carry out one's own reproductive decisions, including but not limited to decisions on contraception, fertility treatment, continuing one's own pregnancy, miscarriage care, and abortion. So one's own. That doesn't mean adult. That doesn't mean any. So if a child goes to what would be considered a trusted source, a teacher, we see all those videos of the libs of TikTok where you got these crazy people who are teaching our kids, oh, come with me, honey. We'll get you an abortion. We won't tell mom and dad. That's what this allows. It's bonkers. The state shall not directly or indirectly burden, penalize, prohibit, interfere with, or discriminate against either an individual's voluntary exercise of this right or a person or entity that assists an individual exercising this right. Entity. Groups will be formed. All you have to do as a kid will be walk into a Planned Parenthood, get an abortion. They don't even have to call mom or dad. We're losing this country, folks. With this, we're losing our state for sure. Parental rights, no more. Unless the state demonstrates that it is using the least restrictive means to advance the individual's individuals, there it is again, health in accordance with widely accepted and evidence-based standards of care. Who decides that? The same doctors that decided it's best to get a shot that doesn't work but potentially could hurt. I mean, there's a lot of things in this, folks. The Health Freedom Act, or, what we tried to pass here or get through, it was House Bill 248 that we tried to get passed here in Ohio. It never went through because many of our politicians do not have guts. We need folks, men and women, to run for office. We need it. We need it now. Folks who are willing to stand up to this crazy uniparty system that we've created. And I say we, because we continue to vote in these nincompoops and reelect them and move them up the ladder. Okay, he was Attorney General. Now let's make him Senator. He was the whatever. Now let's make him President. As used in this section, fetal viability means the point in a pregnancy when, in the professional judgment of the pregnant patient's treatment physician, the fetus has a significant likelihood of survival outside the uterus with reasonable measures. This is determined on a case-by-case basis. See? Who gets to judge the case-by-case? These doctors. An abortion doctor does not care about that child that is in the womb. They don't. State includes any governmental entity and any political subdivision. This section is self-executing. So there's the ballot. That's the ballot language. It's coming up. So individuals and entities and doctors get to choose, not you, the parents, if it happens to be, and I don't pray that on anybody. I don't want children getting pregnant. I want parents to step up and do what's right. And even sometimes when you do step up and do what's right, kids make poor choices. Sometimes spontaneous. You ever known a child to be spontaneous? It happens. Right? You do what you can, but you have to be on top of it. And when parents are excluded from their own child's health care, and it's starting to happen. I heard a story that a mother took their child to the doctor, and the doctor asked the kid, do you want mom to step out and we can have it? No. What the heck is that all about? We're incrementally moving toward socialism, communism, government control. It's because many people want to, I don't like politics. I don't want to get involved. Folks, you have to get involved. If you're not getting involved, then things will just happen the way they happen, and it'll come down from the top. The billionaires, the BlackRocks, the Vanguards, the Elon Musks, the Bezos, the Soros, the Bushes, the Obamas, the Clintons. These are the people that are going to make the rules unless you step up and say, no, enough's enough, and join together for a common cause. You don't have to like everything I say, but I have a right to say it. I'm an American citizen. And that is the crux of it all. We have to stand up for the freedom of speech. We have to stand up against this culture of corruption that we see throughout our government. We have to stand up against people coming after us for simply believing in Jesus. There's old ladies who are sitting in prison today because they stood up for the unborn. There are people going to prison for not being at January 6th, but for talking to people who did, right? There's people going to prison from January 6th for telling people that they support Donald Trump. It's wild. Look, if there were people at the Capitol on January 6th that were violent, hold them accountable just like you would hold anybody. We're starting to see the divide in our justice system. We're starting to see the difference in the switch and the change from a free America to a full-on communist state. I don't know how else to say it. So yes, freedom of speech is important, and you have to utilize it. And you have to use your voice as an American and step up against not only the far left's trying to do. Look, I believe there are still great Democrats out there. I believe there are still great Republicans and libertarians. I believe there are good folks in America. But we have to stand up and stand together, or we're going to be ran over by all this crap that's coming down on us. Have you guys been watching the Sean Ryan podcast? The Sean Ryan Show? He's a former Navy SEAL who interviews a litany of interesting people. He just had Eric Prince on not too long ago. Eric Prince, he's the former CEO of Blackwater. You guys might remember that. I know a lot of people don't like Blackwater or whatever. That's fine. But the guy is super smart. Super smart. So I recommend you taking a look at that podcast. It's over on YouTube. But I'm going to play a little clip that I thought was rather interesting on a previous podcast that Sean Ryan had done. And this is kind of what we've been talking about here today on this podcast.
If you want to point out a lie, the very next thing you better do is point to the truth. And the truth is never going to be adequately defended simply by good argumentation. It's going to be adequately defended by you living it out in your life and people seeing the fruit of that. Most people are very, very consumed with just trying to live their lives. They may be willing to accept it thinking it's just a fad, only to wake up too late to find out it wasn't.
Do you think it's a fad?
No.
I don't either.
That was Sean Ryan's interview with Nick Foitis. I believe he's a member of the Virginia House Delegates. He was a former Green Beret. Go check that one out. The guy's smart too. Sean Ryan has a lot of smart people on his show. So I encourage you to go check it out. I'm going to do more of these podcasts, folks. So please write a review, share them when you can. This is just the warm up to get back into it on these audio podcasts. I do a lot of videos nowadays on the YouTube and Rumbles, but this is something I really enjoy. The audio. It's like radio. So with that, folks, thank you for joining us on Truman's Town Hall. I will see you next Friday, probably sooner. I'm going to do more in between the week, but at least every Friday I'm going to put one out. Thank you, folks. Talk to you later.